Let me ask you a question. Are you guilty of loving others conditionally or codependently? You might not think you are, but if you ask yourself a few questions, you can determine if that's true. Uh, One of my friends had an issue today where she has an older pet dog and she had to take that dog to the vet and have him put down. And it made me think about this because I've actually had quite a few friends in that similar situation over the last few years. And some of my friends respond in the way that she did. And as soon as their vet recommends, that step, they're ready and willing to take it. But some of my friends don't respond that way. Some of my friends are so attached to their pets that they spend exorbitant amounts of money and great amounts of effort trying to save that pet's health. And I've seen the pet extend its life for another year or two, but the pet was not healthy, wasn't feeling well, had ongoing chronic health problems, couldn't sleep, couldn't eat or digest things well. And it would all have been better for that pet to be put out of its misery. But because my friend was so attached to the pet and didn't want the pet to leave her, she had a problem with forcibly prolonging the pet's life in order to continue to make herself happy. So this got me thinking because a lot of us have relationships like this and we don't even realize we're doing it. If someone asks you if you're in a relationship, do you love this person unconditionally? And your quick response is often yes. But all of us, by nature, are going to put many, many stipulations and conditions on the person that we've decided to love. And putting conditions on the person that we love is not only unfair to them because it's impossible for that other person to ever meet those standards, but it holds you back from fully enjoying your relationship, and it holds you back individually from being truly independent and having peace of mind. So if you feel like you might be in a conditional relationship, or you might be loving your partner codependently, there's a couple things you can do to kind of assess that and determine in which ways you might be doing that. The most natural thing that we do in a codependent relationship is if there's something we don't like the other person's doing, we have some kind of an emotional reaction to that thing, then it seems perfectly acceptable to raise that issue to our partner, tell them how we feel, and then with the obligation that that partner has to do something about it in order so that we can feel better and we no longer have to have these negative feelings that we're associating with this thing our partner is doing. In my relationships, when this has happened to me, it made me think about a couple of things. It made me think, one, why am I having a problem with this thing that my partner is doing? Because if you're in a relationship for any length of time, you realize sometimes that those things that you consider major problems at one point previously in the relationship never bothered you. So I would ask myself that. I'd be like, why is this thing bothering me now, but it never bothered me before? Um, when you think about often how the early stages of dating someone goes, you usually don't have any obligations on that person at that point. You might think, I just met this amazing person. I can't wait to get to know them more and find out all the things that they like. When you discover what music they like and what food they like and what their taste in clothing is and what movies they like and what their hobbies are, you're usually at this receptive point where you're kind of fascinated by all of it because you just can't get enough of the person, and everything that they tell you about themselves is ultra interesting and you fully accept it. But then somewhere along the line, once that relationship develops and moves down the road, a lot of times we start shifting our thinking, and some of the previous things that didn't bother us or we actually were fascinated by or interested in all of a sudden become problems. All right, so whenever I realized this was happening to me, I was like, okay, that person hasn't changed, the circumstance hasn't changed, but my response and my thoughts towards that thing have changed. So why am I thinking differently? All right, so when you have an emotional reaction to something in your relationship, a lot of times that has to do with you. It has to do with an insecurity you have or a self-doubt you have. So relationships are very unique to the people that are in them. And a lot of times what we do is we do with everything in life, we base our perceptions of how something should be based on our previous experience of that thing. So if you'd been in one or two relationships before, you learned things that you felt like were right and went well with that relationship. And you also learned things that you feel like were toxic, were negative, and that you wouldn't want to repeat again with a future relationship, a future partner down the road. So we base things off what we've learned in our previous experiences. And if we find ourselves in a new relationship where a circumstance comes up that we have no experience to fall back on, to relate to, then a lot of times we're not sure how to respond. And sometimes that can stir up insecurities within us because the things that we were used to checking off our list, to say, okay, this person is a secure relationship for me because A, B, C, I can trust them, because 1, 2, 3, I love them, because D, E, F, they've shown their love to me and now I know that they love me, or 1, 2, 3, these are the ways that we've secured our relationship so that I know that it's stable, like, getting married or having kids or sharing a house together. So those are just a few examples. Now, if we're in a relationship where maybe the pace of the relationship is unfolding differently, so we're not getting those attachments met that give us a sense of security about the relationship and where it's at, then we can find ourselves sort of in this uneasy state where we're not sure what to make of the relationship, and we're striving and straining to win that person's affection, to please them, and to get some kind of feedback that's going to tell us you're loved, you're safe, you're secure, you can trust this person, and they're not going anywhere. So a lot of times when we don't get those things that we need to cling to for that reassurance, it presents itself as a problem to us. And we bring that to our partner and we say, you have to change this thing because it's bothering me. So once I realized I was doing this, I was reacting this way emotionally, I was like, okay, why am I reacting a certain way? Is it possible that I'm only seeing part of the picture? Is it possible I don't have 100% of the facts and information on something, and I'm making a preconceived judgment on it? Just maybe. So my first reaction, my first, I guess, step to dealing with a perceived problem would be to just wait. Instead of react or respond or, have to get my feelings out or get the issue resolved right away, I'd just wait. And I would wait to, one, acquire additional information. And I would just be like, I'm going to just wait and see what transpires. Like, I don't know this person that well yet. In their mind, they might think that they are showing me ways of love, trust, and security, but maybe that's just a miscommunication in terms of they're speaking this color and I'm speaking this color and we're not seeing what the other person's doing. So I really try to open myself to that person's differences. They were raised differently than I was. It's a different culture, a different background, different parenting styles, different environment that they grew up in, like an urban setting versus a rural, different religious influences. So all of those things shape who a person is. Their emotional trauma that they experienced when they're a child shape who they are and how they respond and react, their communication styles. their attachment styles. So a lot of times if you just wait and give something time, time passes and you get to learn that person better. And a lot of times when you get to learn them better, new insights are gleaned that you didn't have before, that automatically fill in those blanks and answer those questions for you that you were feeling insecure about previously. So waiting and acquiring additional information is one way that you can go about doing that. But I still fall back to it being an insecurity within ourselves that we project on other people. I've never yet had an incident where if I felt emotionally reactive to something, if I didn't just meditate and sit in those feelings and accept that I was having those feelings, that the issue didn't automatically eventually resolve itself once I accepted it. And that's why I can fairly strongly and certainly say it's based on insecurities that we have within us. So when I entered my most recent relationship, I felt very strongly about maintaining my own independence, my own independent way of thinking, my freedom to pursue things that I enjoy, and very much maintaining my individuality while I was in that relationship. And because of that, because that was a very strong priority for me, I automatically offered that same thing to my partner. And that's usually what we do. The thing that we want for ourselves, it's easy for us to extend that thing to somebody else because that's something that we value and we feel like is important. So those things don't always align with two people. And I think that's why things like the love languages exist, because a lot of times people don't want to take the time to get to know somebody really well and let that time pass and let the relationship organically unfold. So they try to use these processes and ways to sort of speed things up and happen. I feel like the love languages is one way of doing that. The love languages is, if you're not familiar with it, learning how to speak in a way that resonates with your partner and how your partner receives love, which you can find out if you just pay attention to them and learn about who they are. A lot of times you'll glean more from that than you will an answer, because sometimes people aren't even sure how to answer those questions about themselves. So they only, answer it in a way that they think that they know. And that might not always be accurate. And those things can change too. So I think it's just important to just be in tune with your partner and who they are. Accept that they're an individual and they have their own ways of doing things. Now, this all starts with yourself. So this is why it's important to spend time meditating, because when you take the time for meditation, really what you're doing is you're sitting down, you're creating this space for yourself to experience all the emotions that you have regarding anything coming up. And instead of trying to run away from those emotions, shove them back down, tell them that they don't need to be there and they shouldn't be there, trying to cover them up by chasing them away with other things, you're honoring their right to exist. That's what meditation is. So you're letting the feeling come up, you're allowing yourself to feel it, you're thinking about it from your truest self, looking at yourself. So you can think to yourself, I have this feeling that's arising inside of me. This feeling isn't me. But by observing the feeling, you're separating yourself from that thing. So separating yourself, the self from the ego, is kind of the first step with that. So when you feel the emotion arising while you're meditating, you're like, I'm having this emotional response to this thing. It's really bothering me. This is the emotion I'm feeling. This is the place in my body when I'm feeling it. And just honor and respect that that's there. Give yourself permission to feel that way. It's going to be uncomfortable. You're not going to want to do it. You're going to want to turn to an attachment or addiction to distract yourself, whether that's, let me go to Facebook, or let me grab a glass of wine, or eat this piece of chocolate cake, or, go watch a movie so I don't have to think about it anymore. So meditating is the first step towards actively thinking about our emotions, recognizing them, accepting them, and making a safe space for them to exist. When we do that, we give ourselves grace to feel those things. We're not judging ourselves with those things. We're just allowing them to be there and saying, I see you, I see what you're feeling. I understand that you're feeling it, and that's okay. And the more that you do that practice, the more you're going to love and accept yourself instead of trying to change the things about yourself that you feel shouldn't be there. And the ironic thing is, when you learn to accept more and love more of yourself, that automatically extends into other people. So that's the real way that you can develop empathy. And it's more than likely going to happen first with the people that are closest to you in your life. So it would be somebody like an intimate partner, or your children, or a close family member that you maybe live with or speak with on a regular basis. Those are the people that you're first going to extend that empathy and acceptance towards. When you can be gentle with yourself, you can offer that to somebody else. You can see why they're doing something. You can almost see yourself in them. You understand that it's a relatable thing, and you're like, okay, you know what? It's not really bothering me. It's just who they are. I'm just going to accept them. So that's the path to go from a codependent and a sort of, I don't want to say toxic, but I'll just say a codependent and conditional relationship into an independent relationship where you have two individuals comfortable and confident in themselves, allowing their partner to be comfortable and confident in themselves. And to me, that's a truly freeing relationship. That's a relationship where you love the other person not because what you can get back from them. You really want their greatest good and their well-being no matter what. Once you can get to loving somebody that way, you accept them a lot more for exactly who they are. You don't place demands on them. You don't try to get them to change. And they accept you more freely because you're accepting them. It's this reciprocal thing. So I just noticed this thought pattern come up today whenever I was thinking about my friend's pet. And it's an analogy, and it's a similar type of relationship. Why are you with somebody? Why are you in a relationship with somebody? Are you trying to get stuff back from them that you can't give to yourself? Two people should enhance each other's lives. You shouldn't look for someone to complete a missing piece of you, because one, that's never going to happen. They may temporarily do that, but that'll eventually fall away, and the hole that's within you will still be there, and you'll be unhappy. You won't have peace of mind, but you're probably going to project that onto them and try to blame them or your circumstances in life or situation or whatever for why you feel a certain way. That's one reason why a lot of relationships fall, because one or both people do that. My goal in my relationships is to, like I said, maintain my individuality, to love myself independently and to love that person independently, to fully accept them for who they are, to not try to change them, to just enjoy and love and admire who they are as a person. That's it. Like I did when I first met that person. And I think that's what we all want, somebody to see us that way. So I think that, that starts with us seeing us that way. When we can see ourselves that way, we can extend that to somebody else. So I hope in some way that, that helped you. And it takes a while to practice these things and to release these things, because when we have emotional response to something, our first inclination is to place the blame on somebody else. And then once we place the blame on somebody else, we need to tell that person how they need to fix that thing so that we can feel better. I'm telling you, that whole cycle is messed up and backwards, and that's the wrong way we've been doing things for hundreds of years. If you want to break that cycle and you want to be in a relationship where you simply enjoy the other person and you love them safely, securely, where they value you, you value yourself, and it's just something where you enhance one another's lives and you make each other better just by being in your life, not placing impossible demands on someone that are going to stress them out and make them feel inadequate and like they can't meet up to your standards. Just love you for being you, which is, I think, what all of us want. So I hope this helps. Feel free to comment if you have anything to say on that or you'd like to further discuss it. Love your pets and your people unconditionally.